The other day, my 17-year-old son asked me what patriarchy actually means. Um, we were having some conversation about, the different expectations of men and women in dating. He has a girlfriend, and so he asked me that, and I kind of felt stuck. I wasn't exactly sure how to put it into words. And this coming from someone who owns a shirt that says it's a beautiful day to smash the patriarchy. I'm like, how do I explain this, to him, as a straight white male in a way that isn't offensive or make him, feel ashamed of any way that he may be upholding inevitably upholding some of these, patriarchal things that are just implicit in our American culture. I was able to somewhat articulately kind of explain how in a patriarchal culture, everything that is like masculine is valued and considered right and upheld, as kind of the norm or powerful. And anything that is really feminine is considered weak and inferior. But trying to explain it, more broadly as this, concept, as this system that we live in was a little bit more difficult because there are the obvious ways. I mean, if you look at a picture of Congress, there's, that should be next to the definition of patriarchy. But, in all these C-suites that are filled more predominantly with men than they are women, the wage gap. I mean, there are those things that you can point to, but it's also more implicit and abstract in the ways that it kind of shows up, in religious influences or just our family structure, and also kind of saying in a way that it's not like men are bad, but these are just like norms and kind of expectations that are out there and that have been out there for generations and unfortunately will probably continue to be out there, that just prioritize men as authority and as what's right, and those kind of values around being stoic and capable and a doer and a fixer and not being lazy and just these kind of subtle things that are just everywhere. And so it also got me thinking about how even as women, right, that we are unaware of these things because it kind of feels like it's just how the world works. And in order to survive or try to succeed, you have to just accept the locker room humor in the break room, or watch your male counterparts get paid more or promoted more and then come home and do all the work there. And so I wanted to just kind of talk about how we can look at the impact that has on our everything, right? As women, as moms, our sleep, our diet, our activity level, our just mental bandwidth, spoons, whatever you want to call it, how it is really a system that's not designed for us to succeed. And, we're really the workhorse of a lot of it. And that takes a toll. So I want, every woman and mom to think about the impact that this has on us. Not just the stress of watching or listening to the news, but also just the impact, of the internalized perfectionism, the people pleasing, the saying yes, the, carrying of the load at work to try to be successful in our careers, but also the load at home to try to raise successful humans. It's a lot, and there can be those challenges that we face when we're the ones that always have to go, rescue the sick kid from school, and we lose productivity, and we're already making less potentially, and there's just a lot of potential for anxiety and burnout and depression and fatigue and physical health issues that are a result of that overload and inequity that we may not even realize is due to the way the system works, and it's unfortunate. And I know, from my friends and myself going through like perimenopause, trying to understand what is sustainable and what's not for our sanity and our bodies. And some of these expectations, these unrealistic expectations from our culture, what moms are expected to do, work like you don't have kids, but raise kids like you don't work. It's just unfair, and that takes a toll. And so if we can get curious about, like, how am I feeling? How am I doing? And it's scary to take a hard look at those things and admit that, I'm not eating right. I'm not sleeping well. I feel frustrated and impatient with my children, and definitely not feeling like having sex when I'm overloaded and burdened with all of these things that I'm doing physically and emotionally. And it's unfortunate. Like, I think it's just sad. And so fortunately, some of these things, are in our control. I don't think we're going to overthrow the government anytime soon. Not that I'm planning that, if the FBI is listening. But I do think that we can take control back of how we let these external forces impact us internally, because that's the only place that we can control and find some peace and balance. So when we can name, hey, this irritability, this burnout, this fatigue comes from trying to say yes to too many things that I don't even give a shit about to begin with, then we can start to make some change. If this resonates with you at all and you'd like to talk more, check out the link in my bio for my Calendly and schedule a time.